Okay, so I think the numbers are starting to level out, so I think that we can get started. So, welcome back, everybody. We are on workshop 7, which we're going to start really diving into automating the work that we do, right? And we're going to key in on tasks and automations for today, and then we will level up on Friday and wrap the bootcamp series all together with workflows. All right. Okay, numbers are still going up. People are still popping in, but that's okay. We can go ahead and get started on all of our intro things. Let me get my screen shared for everybody. And then let me make this a little bit easier for y'all to see. There we go. As always, we have an amazing panel behind the scenes handling everything that you guys throw at them, and then everything that comes through the Q&A panel. I don't if you've noticed, if you've referenced it before, everything that comes through that Q&A panel gets cleaned up, organized, and put into a more readable format and dropped into the training guide. So here's our workshop 6 from Monday. Got the video posted here. Once I get that from Zoom, I clean it up. I crop out all the stuff that you don't need to make it a concise watch for you. And then I do the same thing with the Q&A panel and get that all dropped right here. That includes the questions that were asked during office hours. You guys ask about that a lot. Even though those questions are being answered live, somebody backstage, one of our product experts, is going in behind and typing out an answer so that all of those questions are also dropped into the Q&A document for your access and your revisiting. Okay, thank you, Brent, for another fantastic post in the Tern community Facebook page. This one was a little mind-blowing. I'm not gonna lie, me and my partner zoomed in. We made it as big as we could and we zoomed in and we stalked your Lego stash, and it is impressive. We did notice that tiny little Mario right there peeking out. We have quite a few Mario sets ourselves. So thank you once again. Keep it coming. I loved seeing your video from, I think it was this morning that you posted that one. So if you're not going to get to see the whole video on Friday when I post Brent's update, you'll have to go to the Tern Facebook users group to see that. It's worth the watch. Thank you very much for posting that. Okay. You spoke, we listened, it's time. This one, this one, guys, this one's all me. Monday at the workshop, I toggled all my links on in the resource panel as a part of my getting things ready. And then I went in and was making some refinements to the checklist because some stuff I did the day before didn't save. So if you were one of the people that came to office hours and used the link that was in Zoom before I was finished, you might see some flight stuff in your checklist, and I'm sorry. I should have deactivated the link in Zoom until I was ready. Nobody else should have anything to worry about. If you downloaded the checklist from the training guide, you're good. If you downloaded the checklist during the actual workshop, not office hours, you're good. This just affects a few people that were in office hours and found that little mistake that I made by activating the link too soon. So I'm sorry, but the training guide has a good checklist. Okay, are there cabins left on the Tern user conference? You guys asked this last week. I went to find the registration page. I embarrassed myself when it wasn't there. It's because we reorganized our website and I hadn't been there since we did. The link is in the training guide for you to sign up. It's right next to or below or above, I don't know, the downloadable checklist on workshop 7. I think I also posted it on workshop 6. So those links are there for you. Instead of talking about them, I can show you right here. Sign up to join us at the Tern user conference. I don't think there's a lot of cabins left though. So if you are wanting to join us, please sign up at your earliest convenience to make sure you can secure a spot. I tried incognito mode to sign up for a group trip as a traveler. I had trouble. I did not do a great job of including thorough enough information on this last week. The point at which we had the trip, signing up, creating a sub trip for your travelers while in incognito mode and just filling out the form only works up to a certain point. The point at which we were at in the planning process, it works, but I should have clarified more fully that once you start having like room selections and credit card authorizations and things your clients actually have to do themselves inside of your group trip, that method isn't going to work anymore. That'll just work for you. I'd maybe use it as just like a testing feature for you as you're learning things. But when it comes to actually doing this for a client, create the sub trips inside of the group trip, not incognito. Hopefully that creates more clarity, not more confusion. Please hit up the product Q&A panel if what I told you just makes you go, Karina, what are you talking about? And they will give you a more thorough, maybe written answer that makes more sense. Lastly, I get this one a lot. I don't want to lose the training guide and live recordings. Can you please leave them up? You bet. Permanently for the rest of forever was one request that came in this morning, and I probably can't meet that request, but how about like a long time? I'll leave them up for a long time. And the cool part is when I do take them down, it's only because eventually we will move them into new learning environments as we improve the training ecosystem that we're providing you all. So even when they go away, they won't go away. Okay, so they'll say this support system will remain for you for whenever you need it. Okay. The laundry for people that are here for the first time. We are not monitoring, the product experts are not monitoring the chat. That'll be your social area. Absolutely, you can still post questions in the chat, and as community members, you can help each other out. But if you want our product expert panel to see your question, please drop that in the Q&A panel, okay? But we do ask, pretty please, ask Fin first, right? Ternbot Fin in the lower right-hand corner of the application will answer over 90%, like high 90% of your questions very well. He'll give you context, he'll give you step-by-steps, and it's going to be saved, so you don't have to hunt for it again, because it'll be in your chat threads, so you can revisit it and reuse it, and then ask follow-on questions to gain more clarity. Trials have been extended through, I think, almost the very end of the month, maybe like the 28th of August. If you find that your trial period ended prematurely, please reach out to me and we'll get it fixed. You can just email me. My email should be all over the place, or it's just Karina@tern.travel. Okay. Ternbot Fin. If you have any difficulties using Ternbot Fin, the training guide, don't get dizzy. I'm going to use this over here. The training guide has a helpful video, boom, on the how to get help during workshops, right? There's a little bit of help using Fin because he can do so much more than we're using him for in this boot camp. So it's a really good watch. All right, what do we have left? Where are you, Zoom toolbar? If you're having trouble finding the Q&A panel, if you're having trouble finding my resources links, the best advice we have is kind of like, did you reboot? Did you wiggle your mouse? Just the toolbar goes away. So you kind of just have to hover over your Zoom window to get it to pop back up. I've been told by AI that your panel's on the right, mine's on the bottom. Sometimes mine jumps to top. So just wiggle that mouse around and find your toolbar. The training guide is linked in the chat. It is linked in the resource panel, and it is right here. That QR code right there will take you to it. That link right there will take you to it. Okay, that's it for the laundry. Boom. We are done. Oh no, I should have left that on present. We'll put it back on present later. Okay, your checklists are ready and downloadable in the training guide. So I think with that, it's time to launch into our actual training for the day. And guys, you may not notice, but Ben's not here. You get me in my inaugural doing actually all of the training experience with Tern. This will be my first. So be kind. Compliments are welcome. Those criticism, I'll get better as we go. Okay, so let's start by recapping. Let's get in the frame of mind. Where were we and where are we going? So, in our last workshop, we introduced group travel. We walked through how to create a group trip and its landing page. And we taught you how travelers can use that landing page to sign themselves up for a trip. And each sign up automatically generates a sub trip for you. So you don't have to do any work. It's going to create that sub trip. It's going to drop it on your trips page. It's going to drop it in the group trip, and voila, you just get to start tailoring it. We clarified that group itineraries act as a template. And whenever a sub trip is created, it's a copy, an exact copy of that group trip. And it's important to remember that changes made to the group itinerary do not affect existing sub trips. That's because we protect those. You may have started customizing them. We do not want to overwrite anything you did for a specific small group of travelers that are in your bigger group, right? And then vice versa. Whatever you tailor in that individual sub trip is not going to push up and change your group trip. Okay, so that's what we did Monday. If you did not hear, if you were not here for office hours, and if you haven't found it yet in the training guide, Chloe is doing a 2-part series on group trips. From itineraries and landing page, the whole kit and caboodle, tip to tail, from what I understand, is going to be amazing. If you are interested in attending that, it is linked on the group trip workshop page in your training guide. It's also in Tern and Learn if you're a Tern and Learn user. But you all have access to workshop 6 was group trips. Go there and boom, there's a link to sign up for it. And to get more on the group trips. And then Chloe will also be posting videos of those live sessions. So if you can't make it, you can still watch it. And those will be in Tern and Learn live recordings after the fact. Okay, I think that's it. Brianna, I know I'm not supposed to be monitoring the chat. I'm supposed to be focused on instruction, but hey, I change them whenever somebody's like, Karina, you haven't changed them in a while. Or when I get really moody and it doesn't fit my mood and I need to feel a different way. That's when I change them. Okay, cool. So what are we going to do in this workshop? Okay, so we're going to shift gears a little bit. Up to this point, mostly we've been focused on how to build trips. We have dipped our toe a little bit into some time-saving features like forms and templates and libraries that let you reuse material that you've built to cut down on the time that you're spending rebuilding repetitive things. But Tern doesn't stop there. Beyond reusing content, Tern also helps you automate your work. So you can schedule actions to happen automatically whenever certain triggering events occur, and you schedule all of that. So here's how we'll break it down today. First, we'll explore how to collaborate with other professionals inside of Tern, making shared planning simple and seamless, right? Share things with each other, time saver. Then we'll look at tasks, which you can think of as built-in reminders, right? To me, it's like, that's my to-do list with due dates, right? And then finally, we're going to set up automations. So we're going to take those repetitive tasks off your plate so you can focus on higher value work. And that's our day. So let's dive in. We're starting with collaborations. Tern gives you 2 ways to collaborate with your peers. You can collaborate at the community level and at the individual level. At the community level, in your settings panel, you can create a community. We learned that on day 1, but that was a long time ago, right? You can create a community where library content like templates, forms, and itineraries, library content, is automatically shared with your group that you create, right? So you create the community, you add the members, you say who can and can't share something, and then voila, your reusable content that you keep in your libraries can be shared with that community with 1 click instead of having to share it with all the individuals separately. Okay, so that's collaboration at the community level We're also going to talk about collaboration at the end of, I'm not showing any screen stuff yet. I'm just talking. I will share my screen when it's time to demo it. So at the individual level, you can set collaboration permissions on specific trips and contacts, letting you work directly with another professional on just what you choose to share. Okay, so that's what we're getting ready to do now. So I'm going to share my screen because I'll actually demo it for you. That was just like frame your mind, like this is where we're going, right? This is the concept. Let's understand that. Now let's see it. So let me get my app open and get that screen shared out for you. All right, so here we go. Okay, so if you want to share library content with a group of people without having to set up individual permissions, you can create your own community and add the members you want to join that community. Once you've created a community, when you have a template you want to share, you can share it with the community, right? Instead of typing in everybody's emails that you want to give it to. This is just a time saver for sharing and collaboration purposes to cut down on your invisible work. So let's see that in action. Okay, so let's start. And again, for those of you that are new, you're going to be given time to do this yourself. So if you can focus on the demonstration so you don't miss it, then when it's time for hands-on practice right after the demo, you'll have a checklist that guides you every single step of the way of what I just did for you to do yourself. So let's just kind of sit back and see how this works. So we're going to go into our profile icon. That's where all of our account settings are at. And we'll open those settings. Okay. Then we're going to go to the community section at the bottom and click on community details. Before we deal with members, we need to establish our community, right? Okay. Then we're going to create a new community. Maybe this is going to be my boot camp peeps community, right? And then I get to decide, hey, am I going to open this up so that everybody I invite can share with each other? Or am I maybe wanting to make sure that I'm the one pushing things out, or only perhaps me and my administrators are the ones pushing things out? You get to pick the permissions level. I'm going to say free willy. Everybody gets to share with everybody. So I'll leave that and hit create community. Now I have a brand new community.
Hey, Karina,
I can create, yeah,
can you just zoom in a bit? We have some folks in the chat saying they're having a hard time seeing. And
sure. Thank you for
just
popping in
of
and telling me. Yeah, let me
course,
make it bigger. Big enough?
looks great to me.
Yay, thanks. Okay, so you can create an unlimited amount of communities and tailor them however you need. Once you have a community, then it's time to drop some people in there, right? So we're going to go to the members tab. And we are going to pick right here. We're going to pick which community we're working on. So the boot camp peeps. Okay, so now we've got the community open and we can start adding our members. So since I did this whole boot camp with Ben, I probably want to invite Ben. I can add more than one email right here, but I'm just going to do just Ben for now. So you can see how it's done. And then voila, you can see he has been invited. He's going to receive an email telling him you've been invited to the Bootcamp Peeps community, and he can then join. All right, so we've created it, right? We created a community inside of our profile settings, and then we invited the people to it that we want to have access. So now we're going to take a couple minutes to view the shared with me library and then try sharing a template with the community that we just created. Okay, so I'm going to go to my library and then I'm going to pop into emails over here. I want to look at the emails library. And then I have my private library. I have the Tern community library, which people share out to the public. And right in the middle, I have the shared with me. This will be where community shared content is at, or things that people have invited me to see, right? So these are somewhere in between private and public. It's just like those are our small community networks, our individual invitations to content. Okay. Now, when I am in the my templates, let's say I want to share a template with my new community. Okay. So I'm going to click on the three dot menu. We can't see it without scrolling over because I zoomed in so big. But if I find one I want to share, right? Maybe I want to share this happy anniversary template with that community I just made. I'm going to open this up and then I'm going to edit the sharing settings right here. I don't need to edit the template. I just want to look at those sharing settings that are on there. Okay, now I could type Ben's name in here individually, but I want to share it with the whole community I just made without doing this individual things. So let's say I have 10 people in my bootcamp community. I will just pick that entire community and everybody in it is going to get access to this template. I then will toggle on or off the permissions I want to allow, how I want to share this out exactly. And then I'm simply going to press done when I'm done. Okay. Now, actually, because I didn't share it out, hold on. Let me go back in and make sure I turn this on anyone with the link. Well, I don't want to do it in Tern community. Let's say, we'll just, I'm okay sharing it with everybody. Okay, there. Now you're going to start seeing some icons populate here. So I've shared this out with with the bigger community, and this one I've shared out just a link with an individual. So you're going to see on here what you have and have not shared out with a little icon, and that'll be just helpful at a glance to see if you have a template that's been shared or not, so that you can sometimes because you may want to pull something off when you realize it's become outdated, or you may want to take a little extra caution with keeping those very up to date because you've shared them with your close community. Okay, next up, let's talk about trip collaborations, right? So this is how we collaborate when it comes to sharing library content. But trips and contacts are not a part of community sharing, and that's intentional. They hold sensitive client data and custom work. So Tern keeps them a little more guarded. If you want to collaborate on a specific trip or contact, you must invite someone directly and give them permissions. And this ensures that only the right people can see and edit client or trip details. So to do that, let's navigate back to the trip dashboard. And we're going to open up a trip now that we want to share with somebody. So I'm going to find my notebook experience. Okay, now in the right toolbar, so because I'm zoomed in so far, it's kind of going to look a little bit different. I'm going to make this, there we go. I had to squeak it open just a little bit more because I don't want you to get confused of it's only like push to below if your screen is too small or you've zoomed in so big. So now we can see it correctly. So in the right toolbar, there's going to be a section for collaboration. Locate that so you can invite specific individuals to collaborate on this trip. Collaborators get full view and edit access to trip details, including credit card authorizations. Now, I'm saying that, but because it's so important, we write it on the screen as a constant reminder that if you invite somebody, they're going to get quite a few permissions. Are you sure you want to do that? So we're going to put in an direct email of who the person we want to invite is. And then we're going to click invite. The invited collaborator is immediately added to our list. See? And then each person you invite is also going to receive an email invitation to collaborate with you. And when they accept, this trip will be added to their dashboards also because they now have editing and planning rights just like you. So that is how we collaborate and share trips with our peers. But what if we want to share a contact? Like trips, your contacts are excluded from community shared content, so only intended collaborators have access. You'll have to add collaborators to an individual contact. So that means we need to head over to our contacts now. So we're going to open all our contacts from the top toolbar. And then we're going to open one of our contacts by clicking on their name. So this is my daughter. Let's go ahead and share her with Ben, right? Because maybe I need Ben to make a trip for her because I don't have time. Don't tell her that. That'll make her mad if I don't have time to plan her trip, but she'll never know. Okay, so I went to my contacts library and picked the contact that I want to share with Ben so that he can add her to trips and communicate with her. So contact card is open. And then I can scroll down to the collaboration part and do exactly what I did just a minute ago. It's in the same spot as it was for a trip over on the right side there. I follow the same exact steps and voila. This contact has now been shared with one of my peers. And that wraps up the demonstration portion, and it's going to be time for you to get a little hands-on experience. So what we just did, quick recap. We discussed how Tern supports collaboration to save time in two distinct ways. Community sharing is how you share your library. You create a community in your settings, right? And then you invite people to that community. Then, whenever you're in your library and you want to share content, you can simply share it with the community instead of all the individual members. After that, we're like, okay, but in addition to library content, I need to share some trips and some contacts with my peers. So we learned that we can open a trip or a contact. And whether we're in a trip or a contact, on the right-hand side, there is a collaboration panel, and we can invite people onesie, twosie. All right, so that is a wrap for this part of the demonstration. It's time to give you some time to get in there and try this for yourself. So we are on workshop 7. If you are a training guide checklist individual, you'll want to scroll down to topic 1 and toggle open your checklist. If you like to download, here's your download button. I'm going to go ahead and leave this up on my screen. So as you come and go, as long as this is on the screen, it means we are still in hands-on time. I will circle back here shortly with a 1-minute warning that we're about to circle back. All right, I'm going to go quiet now. Okay, it is time to circle back. So if you wouldn't mind, I know it's hard to put it down when you just want to go digging, but if you wouldn't mind, we're going to move on. So in this next session, we'll focus on understanding automation tools, specifically email templates, tasks, automations, and workflows. You'll see how each works on its own and how they connect to cut down on repetitive work that doesn't need an advisor's attention when automation can manage the lift, right? So once we unpack Tern's automation features, which will just be more of like a conceptual understanding portion of this demo, we'll dive deeper into tasks. And tasks we'll get some hands-on experience with. I like to think of tasks as smart reminders or your to-do list. They can be created for yourself or assigned to others, and they incorporate due dates so nothing slips through the cracks. Okay, so let's get started by unpacking the automation features available in Tern. This first section isn't a how-to. It's about understanding how the pieces fit, understanding the nomenclature so that you can use the tools more effectively. So I'm going to point out, let me shrink this. Much like the last time, I have added a few additional visuals, a little bit more of those conceptual pieces in some expandable cards nested inside of Workshop 7. So let's open this up so we have something to look at while we're talking about the concept. So Tern is packed with time-saving hacks, but jumping in without understanding what each one does and how they relate can lead to confusion or wasted effort. That's why we're going to focus first on this, gaining some of this conceptual clarity. Okay, you don't have to master everything right away, also. Just start simple. Get comfortable with email templates and tasks, right? Just get comfortable at this foundational level. And then as you understand more and more, then you can bring automations and workflows in as you're ready. And whether that takes days for you to master or months, every little step you make is going to save you time. So let's start by getting clear on some terminology. Email templates, as you know, create say when you create these email templates and you pull them in, save you a lot of time. So you're not creating over and over again, right? We've already been through that. That's probably an easy sell. So next, tasks. These are time-based reminders or your to-do list. You can assign a task to yourself, you can assign a task to your teammates, and you can give them due dates so that they are constantly queuing up like, hey, this is past due, hey, this is due soon, right? So you can build your to-do list out with tasks or reminders that you need to do something. All right, so these are the foundational blocks. Next, in this like scaffolded series of automation elements is literally automations themselves. These are groupings of tasks and or emails that you program to deploy automatically. For example, a trip moving to a new status may trigger some tasks or emails to generate if you have that automation built. Or perhaps a new contact being loaded to your account will trigger some emails or tasks to generate based on the automation that you created for that. Here's what's important to know about automations, and understanding this is what's going to make workflows make sense. Automations need to be assigned to trips or contacts to work so they know where to watch for the triggers, right? Workflows are that next step. They're that final step in really bringing your automations in Tern full circle. Workflows have a set of conditions that tell Tern when to assign those emails, tasks, and automations so that you don't have to do it manually. Okay, because if you recall, to have something automatically work, you have to have it assigned to the trip you want it to work on or assigned to the contact you want it to work on. But that manual labor of assigning those things to every trip or contact you want them to work on can be a little overwhelming. So you can take it another step and say, okay, let me create a workflow, put these things inside of it, and then tell that workflow, hey, I want you to assign these things in this way. Okay. So I'd like to draw your attention next. I believe in saying things in a few different ways, showing things a few different ways, because we all learn a little differently. Okay, so this is available to you if this one made sense. There's an example execution that kind of takes you through like, how could you evolve this from being increasing your efficiency to like maximizing your efficiency. Okay, but there's another visual that I think it helps me to understand how things fit together. This right here. I'm not going to grow it up big for you to look at all the words. Well, let's see. No, there we go. That helps. Okay. Um, the foundational building blocks of automations inside of Tern are basically emails and tasks. right? Those are your building blocks. Those are for Brent, your Legos, right? Automations and workflows are how you automate like the creation or application of those emails or tasks in regards to your trips and your contacts. They execute behind the scenes without human time invested once you create them and assign them where they belong. One way to think about this is emails and tasks are the what, while automations and workflows are the when and how. Let's think through a scenario. Okay. I want to automate the process of sending birthday cards and anniversary emails. To do this, I need a reminder, which is a task, to send the birthday card, like 5 days ahead of someone's birthday. I also need an email that's going to send itself on my client's anniversaries. So I would attack this in phases, starting at the lowest level for each one. So we would start by getting the building blocks in place, right? Tasks and emails, got to get the building blocks ready. We need a birthday card task because I want to physically do that myself, right? You can't automate physically sending a birthday card. Well, unless you have a robot. And then if you do, please send me one. Okay. And then I need to go in and get the email prep. So I'm going to create an anniversary email template so it can be used over and over again. Okay. So I've got those building blocks in place. I created a task reminding me to send a birthday card. I created an email template for happy anniversary. Okay. Check. Now, with those building blocks, right? With these building blocks in place, I want to automate their use. I do that with an automation, right? Funny how that works. I'll simply create the automation that triggers my birthday card task to be added to my to-do list and do 5 days before a birthday. I'm going to make that all automated. And then I'll create another automation that triggers my anniversary emails to go out on the morning of every anniversary. I have to create two automations, right? Because they're different triggers. It's like, hey, when you see a birthday come in, I need you to create this task to remind me to do it. And hey, when you see an anniversary date come in, I need you to send this email for me. Okay, those are automations. Next, let's say, right, anniversaries and birthdays apply to all of our contacts. And every time we bring in a new contact, we want it to apply to them. But I don't want to manually do that, right? I don't want to have to manually remember to assign these things every time I bring on a new client. So instead of doing that all manually, that next final layer that I can automate is to create that workflow and to tell the workflow, hey, anytime a new contact is added to my account, will you please go ahead and apply that anniversary email automation and also that automation for the birthday card reminders? Now, once I've gone this full circle, it all happens without my intervention. You don't have to use all of the layers at one time, right? You can tackle them little by little by little until you really master that like full suite of automations. Okay. So those are in your training guide to help you revisit as you start getting more and more ready to advance your automation skills. But we're going to shift gears and start building. You already know how to make email templates. So let's jump into the other building block, right? Email templates and tasks. Those are building blocks. Just a quick memory jogger. Tasks are time-based reminders. They have due dates. You can assign them to yourself. You can assign them to your teammates. They can be linked to trips or contacts. They're really cool, okay? So we're going to learn how to build tasks directly inside of a trip or contact, as well as adding them to our general task list, right? So we're going to build them inside of a trip and a contact, so they're associated there automatically. And then we're going to learn how we can just go into our library and create a task. And those are going to be really beneficial when we start building automations to be able to pull in and use and reuse. So let's start with that building of tasks directly. Okay, so we're going to go to the tasks tab in our top toolbar. Okay. Then we're going to, did it go? It's thinking. Let's give it a minute. There we go. Okay. So then we want to create a new task, right? That add task, add itinerary, that add or new creation button's always in that upper right-hand corner. So we're going to go ahead and start a new task. There we go. Okay. So let's just do a little bit of laundry. Let's start by naming it. Voila. So this is going to be a reminder to send a final itinerary and enjoy your trip email. Okay. So whenever I'm getting close to a travel date, these are things I always want to remember to do. So I'm going to go ahead and schedule them as tasks. I'm going to assign it to myself. That's the default. So I'll leave that there. Now, next you're going to see fixed and relative due dates. Fixed due dates are used when you have the exact date you want this done already in mind. Relative due dates are when you want Tern to assign it, right? You want it to calculate it based off of other data and assign it. So let's go ahead and see what that looks like, because I think we all understand we can just put a date in here and then voila, our reminder has a due date. But let's look at how this relative due dates works. Here, I'm given the option to choose how many days I want to be before or after that trip start or trip end date. Okay, so let's say I want this reminder to send this like, hey, have a great trip. Here's like all sorts of cool stuff I added to your itinerary. Maybe I want to send that 5 days before a trip starts. So before a trip starts. That's how the relative dates work. And so this will calculate itself for you, except I wrote 4, not 5. My bad. Okay. So next, let's go ahead and drop a description in there. That is optional. But let's say I want to leave myself some notes whenever this task hits my to-do list. Okay, now here's the cool part. You know, we've set this up, and now we can go ahead and add it or associate it to a trip so that it knows which trip it's pulling those dates from. So we obviously have been building the notebook trip. So I'm going to associate it with the trip and I'm going to type in note. There we go. And as soon as I start typing, it's going to pull my trips up and I can just click, voila. And now it is associated. Now, tasks are auto-saved, so you're not going to see a save button down there. I always scroll all the way to the bottom, scroll all the way to the top, right? Because the save button's either on the bottom or it's in the upper right-hand corner. So my best practice is to always scroll and check. So since there's no save button, I can just go back to my task list now that I am done setting this up. And you should now see it in your task list. You're going to see it twice because I created this yesterday to make sure that I had your guys' checklist accurate. So let me delete that one. And then voila. It's not going away, guys. Give it a minute. There, it went away. Okay, so now you should see your task in your to-do list. And it's going to be in order by default of due date. And there's nice little status indicators to help you out, your associations, everything. If I wanted to do something more with this, I can always go look for that 3-dot menu and see what my options are. So here are all sorts of things that we can do with that task once we've created it. Okay, one more thing before I release you to do all of the things yourself. We want to build out a task template in the library. We don't want to associate it yet, right? We want to just create a building block, right? So let's go back to our tasks tab. If you've stepped away, you're just going to get back into your task tab up here, okay? And then we're going to do a new task again. God, give it a minute. It's mad at me today. Okay. So when you're creating a task template, there's going to be fewer fields than when you're inside of a trip and doing it, because you're just going to have the bare bones of it. So at this point, you can go in and set all of the same fields, right? So let's say maybe I'm just building a building brick that I'm going to use again later. So we can say send birthday card 5 days early. Assign it to myself. I can, that would actually be under a contact. So I'm not going to really assign it due date. I'm just going to get kind of the basics in here, leave myself a note. I don't think I mentioned this earlier, the email notification toggle. You can turn that on so that in addition to getting dropped in your task list, it'll also send you an email. So if you don't like your inbox to get cluttered and you check your task list every day, you can simply untoggle this. And then we're not going to relate it to anything right now. So we just want to essentially just kind of build a template out so we can pull it in and apply it to automations later. So when we come back with just the bare bones filled out in this form, we now have a birthday card, essentially like task template that we can pull into automations here in a little bit. Okay, so that is the end of my talk time. We are now in topic 2 for your checklists. Let me pull up the topic 2 checklist here. So as you pop in and out of the room, if you need a little break, you know if we've circled back or not. And I guess the last call out is just don't forget that there are those expandable resources inside of your training guide. So as you start doing this, if you start get a little cluttered, remember you can go open those expansion cards and kind of refresh until you really start to have a good grasp on tasks, automations, and workflows. Okay, so with that, it's time for me to be quiet and let you have some hands-on time. All right, if we could circle back, that would be fantastic. So we have time to get through our last cycle. All right, so we've seen how emails and tasks work on their own, but the real power comes when you start linking them together. That's where automations are going to come in. Think of automations as like the middle layer. At the bottom, you've got your building blocks, emails and tasks. And at the top, you'll eventually have workflows which run forever in the background. But automations sit right between pre-programmed sets of actions you can assign to a trip or contact as needed. Okay, so let's set up an automation for sending payment reminder emails 10 days before a payment is due on our notebook trip. So by setting this up as an automation and using the email template we created in an earlier workshop, remember we created like a 10-day reminder email template and a 3-day payment reminder email template. So we're going to use those again and automate their deployment. So to do that, let's head back over to our app. We're going to want to create the automation. So we're going to go to our library because we want this applied to multiple trips, not just one. So we're not going to do this from inside of a trip. We're going to go into our library and create an automation template that we can apply to lots of trips. Okay, so we head up to our library and we find our automations in the left toolbar. And where it's usually at, we're going to add a new one up here on the right. I'm going to name this my payment reminder. And this is my payment reminder that goes 10 days out because I have that 3-day one, right? So I can create another automation for the 3-day one. But for now, we're focusing right here. And these are relevant to a trip, right? We want these to be associated to trips and their payment due date. So we're going to select the trip type. And then I'm going to create my automation. Okay, the next thing I want to do is set up my trigger. Okay, the event that's going to trigger this email being sent. So I want the trigger to be the payment due date. So I'm going to pick that as my trigger. So whenever a payment due date exists, I want to say, okay, before that payment due date, 10 days before that payment due date, I want this automation to just happen. Okay. So I've got the trigger set up. Next thing, actions, right? What do I actually want to happen? So, what I want to happen is an email, right? I want that 10-day reminder email to go out. So, I'm not going to choose task. I'm going to choose to send the email. And then I already built the email template. Remember, we go in and we build the building blocks first so we can just pull them in as we want them and reuse them. So I'm going to choose to grab that email template instead of creating a new one. Right now, I can hit new email and I can just create it. But then it doesn't exist as a template in my library. So it's just my best practice. Create templates as often as possible instead of just building one-offs inside of your automations. Okay, so now I have to go find my, there it is. I have to because like I practiced this a few times just to make sure I don't miss a button for you guys. So here I'm going to grab that email template for payment reminders 10 days out. And there it is. And right now, if I wanted to make a change to it, I could for this purpose, but I'm good with it. I just created this not too long ago. It looks great. Now it's time to set my recipients. So I can choose to send this to any group of individuals on the trip that it'll be applied to. Let's say I just want that primary contact to get this payment reminder. So that's what I'll pick. Okay, and I've made it to the bottom. I don't need to create any other actions to go with this. I could layer some things together, but I don't need to. I'm good the way it is. So now I scroll back to the top, and this is important. I need to activate this automation. Now, you don't have to do this as you're practicing. Like, you don't have to activate your automations or your workflows if you're afraid that they're going to get applied systemically through your stuff. I'm going to do it as a demonstration for you. So I'm going to set it to active, and then I'm going to save this automation. And then there it is. So this automation can be used with any trip I want to use it on. So if you recall, it's not going to work until I tell it where to look. So for a trip automation to work, I need to apply it to a trip. So to do that, let's say we want to apply this to our notebook trip. So let's go in, let's find our notebook trip, and let's open it up. Now, if you recall left toolbar here, I'm going to go down to the automations for this trip. This toolbar just applies to this trip only. So I'm going to go to the automations for this trip. Okay. And I want to add an automation to it. So I already built the automation, right? That's my best practice. Build the templates first, pull them in. Build the templates first, pull them in. I already built it. Let's just pull in that template. And then here are all of my templates. If somebody shared with me, I can go grab theirs. But here we go. Here's mine. Here's my 10-day out template. So I'm going to pull that automation in, or that email into my automation. And then let's just verify everything looks good, right? Best practice, we should always verify. If you need to edit anything, you would have to set it to not being currently active, make your changes, and then set it to active again. Okay, but I don't need to make any changes. I just made this, it's golden, so I'm going to save it. Maybe. There we go. Okay, now inside of my notebook trip, I'm looking at the automations that are relevant to just this one trip, and I see it's right there. And my upcoming trigger date is there. Okay. So this payment due date must be August 31st because on August 21st, this email is going out. Now, if you see any kind of issues, right, you're going to want to review this. And if you see any kind of issues like missing dates or pricing issues, this is a great time to kind of go in and clean up all of your data so that this works the way it's expected. Okay, so the last thing to do is we need to test our automation. I am not going to run through this because I want to give you time to do it yourself. The checklist is in your training guide. But to test this automation, you're going to be given instructions to go into your itinerary, open up one of the elements, and set a due date that's like 11 or 12 days out. And then you're going to see this work. Okay, because if you don't have any payments coming up in the next 10 days, you're not going to be able to test this. So that is in your checklist. I'm not going to run through that. It's pretty easy to follow along. You already know how to go into booking and pricing and update due dates. Okay, so I'm going to wrap my demonstration there and do just a quick little recap of what we just covered so you know what you're going to go practice on your own. So the key takeaway here is that automations let you take the tasks and emails you already created and link them together into a repeatable process. And instead of watching the calendar or recreating the same steps, you program them into Tern once and assign them, and then the work is done for you. But remember that thing I just said, assign them. Automations need to be assigned to the trips you want them to work with or the contacts you want them to work with, right? And so you have to do that manually at this part in your learning. But on Friday, we will do workflows, which is how we tell Tern, dude, do that work for me. Here are my rules. Like when these rules apply, please make the automation work without me involved, right? Okay, so I'm going to go quiet and give you some time to go in and start playing with automations. And I will give you a 1 minute warning when we are coming back to wrap. All right, it is time for us to circle back. So I want to take a moment to recap what we covered today to try to bring this full circle because I know sometimes it's hard. It's like we start microscopically and then it's like you follow all these step-by-step to do things and then everything gets jumbled. So let's unjumble. We started with collaboration, looking at how you can share templates, forms, and itineraries across your community, and how to securely collaborate on sensitive client data through trip and contact level permissions. From there, we moved into automation features. We unpacked the building blocks first, right? The email templates for reusing common communication and tasks as time-based reminders or to-do lists for yourself and your teammates. Then we moved on to 2 layers of automating your work, only one of which we really covered today, automations, right? For grouping tasks and emails and then setting them to trigger automatically when certain events occur in their trips or their contacts, right? Their associated trips and contacts, which we have to do manually. Workflows. Workflows function as the instruction set, essentially, for whatever you have inside of them, right? So you can pull in those automations you already made. You know, you can maybe drop in a few extra tasks and then tell it, hey, can you please auto apply these to these trips and or these contacts based on these rules that I'm programming for you right now, right? So that's how it all kind of works and flows together. Finally, we took some time and walked through a real world automation build, a payment reminder email, so you could see how templates, tasks, and automations come together in practice. Now, if you didn't have time to finish today, as always, we didn't expect you to finish your entire checklist today. It was just trying to get some hands-on experience, right fresh on the heels of seeing it yourself to start building some muscle memory and really grasping some of the concepts. But remember, you don't need to master everything at once, especially in this, automated suite within Tern, because even a single automation or shared templates can reclaim hours from your week. So build gradually, test as you go, and pull in new features at your own pace. Do not feel like you have to have this all understood right now today. Please remember, Finn and the entire support team are available for you as you do continue to work through those checklists in between now and Friday. Um, of note, if you haven't been taking advantage of our office hours, please do. You don't have to have specific questions. You can just come and watch. They will open 30 minutes ahead of the workshop on Friday, and you don't need a separate link. You just join the webinar link early, and you can sit and watch as Chloe, I believe this Friday, will be running office hours. So as Chloe kind of recap some things that we did and answer people's questions. Friday will be our very last workshop in the bootcamp series. For those of you that have been with us the entire time, thank you so much. Please, 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 if you wouldn't mind, continue to fill out those feedback forms that are at the bottom. Let me see if I can escape out of every workshop card. So I've got a feedback form here. That data I am compiling to really make sure that the training materials we continue to build meet your needs. We just have to hear where we're meeting your needs and where you could use a little more assistance. So please fill out those feedback forms so that I can do an even better job next time around. Okay. That's all I have for you. It's 2 minutes early. You're welcome. But I'm gonna stop sharing now. I appreciate you being with us. I hope you all have an amazing Wednesday, an amazing Thursday, and I'll see you back here on Friday. Y'all take care.